Good morning and welcome to the Sports Carnival live from the Trauma Center studios. Get ready for some childish humor, or as the pedos call it, or refer to it, minor attracted comedy. Now here's your host, Dave Carney.
Wow. Okay, so that's how we're going to start this one off, huh? We've got a minor attracted. What, did you get this off of the NAMBLA website for jokes to start the morning off?
No.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Chad, this has also struck me as interesting, right? We've talked about this before, and we'll let our audience into this. Geppetto, the German toy maker that wanted to make a little boy and make him real. Does it strike you as odd that his name is Geppetto?
No, it's no coincidences
like
in any of that.
Geppetto. Okay, just saying. Thomas, top of the morning, man, from UWL. Neil the Duda says, good morning, fellas. I'm going to try my best to make it tonight, but no promises. You are not off the hook, Duda. You are not off the hook even a little bit. Neil Duda is part of the P1 conglomeration, needs to be at the recovery room tonight from 6 to 10 p.m. Chad, we've got our big Bucks ticket giveaway. We've got $200 in cash. We've got a whole bunch of swag and prizes. A little correction, though, because I had put out a Facebook post that we were also giving away the 43-inch TV tonight. No, we're beginning the registrations for the 43-inch TV tonight. That will be given away just a shade before Christmas. But needless to say, if you don't win the Bucks tickets tonight with us at the recovery room from 6 to 10, you've got a whole lot of other stuff that you could potentially win. So come on out. It's going to be a really fun night. Bucks are playing the Knicks tonight. Julius Randle, by the way, 28th birthday last night, went off for the New York Knicks, had 6 threes in the first half alone.
36?
He had 36. He was just being beastie, man. And Tom Thibodeau, who's always coached a defensive team, is now lighting it up all of a sudden. But the point being, this is going to be a fun night. We've got NBA action to watch tonight. We're getting prepped up for Week 13 in the National Football League. We've got a really fun Thursday night matchup coming up, as a matter of fact, Buffalo and New England. And we're just going to have a great time, Chad, drinking, eating. Matt from the recovery room is going to be putting out some of their signature pizzas starting at 6:30 tonight. So if you're hungry, if you're thirsty, if you want to win the Bucks tickets, you've probably already gotten yourself into the running a few times by ordering an Absolute or Jameson shot or cocktail. This is the night, 6 to 10 p.m.
Is it must be present to win?
It is not.
Oh, it is not.
It is not.
Okay.
And we'll announce live on the show tomorrow morning, Chad, who the winner of those Bucks tickets were. Again, thanks to our friends at Absolute Vodka, Jameson Irish Whiskey. And thanks really to you, guys and gals, for being such steadfast drinkers and patrons of the recovery room. Chad, the cooler that these things, the little slips are in, is massive. It's like one of those, I don't know, 50-gallon coolers that you take with you to the park or to the beach, and it's just stuffed to the brim with all these different entry slips. So good job, guys. Well played.
So a lot of great drinking that went on there to accomplish that, which we all appreciate. And if you're having snow issues like I'm having snow issues, that just means you need to drink more.
Yes.
I've got 2 inches of snow this morning I have to deal with. So I don't know how much you have there.
Not that much.
Okay. We had about 2.5 inches, it looks like, overnight. So that's
it depends. It depends on where you're at, I suppose. I was talking to a friend of mine who was up near Neil the Doodle last night, and she was saying that the snow was coming in pretty quick, pretty hard, pretty heavy. Down here in Stoddard, it didn't start really snowing until maybe 5, 6 o'clock at night. And it didn't we didn't get too much that stuck on the ground. It was a heavy dusting. The roofs are all covered with snow, but the ground isn't too bad. Matty Ice is checking in, talking about this evening's Bucks party, and he's like, I will get there later. My daughter performs at the Rotary Lights at 7:30. That's an excuse I will accept. Chad, I don't know if you've ever looked at the La Crosse City website. You probably haven't. But this thing called Rotary Lights is amazing. So the Rotary out here puts together one of the largest light shows in the entire state, maybe in the entire country. It goes through the entire Riverside Park, which we have, which nestles along the Mississippi River. It's a spectacle, man. And from, I want to say, the day after Thanksgiving all the way up until New Year's, it's on. And it's something to behold. So congratulations, Maddie. It's pretty fun that your daughter gets to perform there. I like that.
And my apologies. It looks like I might have accidentally titled today's show 11:29 and not 11:30. I've been off a little bit the last couple of days, as you guys know. I'm not trying to make excuses, but that's just a fact.
Hey, listen, it's not like you nearly punctured your lung or anything playing producer and then told us that you were going to gut it out when I would be like, no, man, you got to sit. We've got a young rookie that's coming up behind you, and you're like, no, I got a punctured producer lung. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Speaking of punctured lungs, punctured egos, we heard yesterday from Aaron Charles Rodgers exactly what's going to happen. Good to know that the coach and the GM and he are all on the same page. We know what's going to happen now with Aaron Rodgers, so we want to get into that coming up this morning. I also want to spend some time this morning, Chad, talking about the USA men's national team. This got a lot of pub around the area yesterday. As a matter of fact, Tony Rousso from Preferred Insurance, one of our great sponsors, was asking where we were watch this game yesterday. Well, I didn't have time yesterday to go and sit and watch what could have been an endless soccer match, but the USA men's national team come up with a huge 1-0 victory over Iran, advanced to the group stage. So I want to take your temperature on that as well. If you join the show on Twitter, that's awesome. If you join the show on our Facebook group page, even better. Take this morning's poll question, climb our poll, if you will, and let me know if you think Team USA can actually advance in the knockout stage, because I think it's dubious. There's going to be a long road to hoe for these guys, but it was an important win yesterday, Chad, and I think I caught a stat that I can't even believe I remember. Christian Pulisic is the first men's national player in the modern era to have both a goal and an assist in the same World Cup. That's how rare both scoring and assisting is for Team USA in the World Cup.
Exciting sport.
It's riveting. The Wisconsin Badgers are exciting, though. They had a nail-biter last night, ACC Big Ten Challenge. We'll talk about that. Stick around. Sports Carnival broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Back in about a minute.
What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
The Social Distancing Sport Association, or SDSA, presents guidelines to safer athletics. For example, when participating in basketball, remember the Harden rule. That's right, James Harden is a man ahead of his time. Number 1, when playing defense, that is if you choose to, keep 3 to 6 feet between you and your opponent. Never double team and always appear disengaged or aloof. On offense, be sure to isolate yourself from your teammates. Dribble the shot clock down, rarely pass, and finally take a 30 to 35-foot shot. This has been brought to you by Arm's Length Under Armour. Go ahead and play. Just stay at least an arm's length away.
Broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the Sports Carnival. Stress is when you wake up screaming and then you realize you haven't fallen asleep yet. Now here's your host, Dave Kearney.
Oh, boy. That's a nightmare, man. What are you talking about? That's a fucking nightmare. If you wake up and you're like, wait, I haven't even been to sleep. That's called doing a morning show for 10 or 15 consecutive years. You always have to give yourself like this check. Am I still alive? Does this thing still beat? And if it still beats, then you know that you've got to go in and do another really pointless performance. But that's why we decided to switch it up a little bit here. Thanks to everybody for joining us. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter. One of the things that we can't do, Chad, is interact with people on a couple of different platforms. I know that our Twitter page doesn't allow interaction. A lot of people watch us on Twitter, don't get to actually chime in during the show. My Facebook profile page, as opposed to the group page, keeps you anonymous. The group page shows exactly who you are. We're going to get this thing all coordinated at some point, but we like reaching the masses. YouTube and Twitch seem to be the most interactive of the two platforms, but don't let the little numbers scare you when you watch the little eyeballs. There's tons of your friends, relatives, well-wishers that are all looking at the same thing that you are. You're not alone. And if you want to join the program this morning, I'd really love it if you did climb our poll question, because we've got this on our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney, as well as our Facebook group page, Chad. What do our audience members think about Team USA and the potentiality of them advancing in the knockout stage of the World Cup? The World Cup's been out here a lot more popular than I thought it would be. I'm hearing a lot more buzz about the World Cup than I actually thought I would be. So I figured we'd put it up to a poll. Yesterday, we asked about Aaron Charles Rodgers. And look, he made his decision. He talked to his buddy Pat McAfee yesterday on the Pat McAfee show. And Aaron told Pat McAfee what he's going to tell the Packers, that he's fine. Everything's fine. His ribs are good. Scans came back great. And he's going to suit up versus the Bears. Because listen, at 4-8, Chad, and maybe we can bring up this slide. At 4-8, the Packers aren't mathematically eliminated from the postseason. And I had a lot of different audience members and friends of ours going back and forth with me yesterday on our Facebook group page about, Aaron playing when the Packers aren't mathematically eliminated. And there is, as you can see now, if you're watching us, there is a chance the Packers make the postseason, 3%. There is a 3% chance the Packers make the postseason, Chad. Since 1990, 110 teams have gone 4-8 through 12 weeks. One of those teams made the playoffs in the last 32 years. So you're telling me there's a chance? There is. It's very small. But as Aaron said, he got good news with the scans yesterday, so he's playing this week. We're not eliminated. We've got a chance to run the last 5 and see where we're at after that. Okay. So I get this from a fan's perspective. I do. If you're healthy enough to play, and even a football player's perspective, if you're healthy enough to play, you want to go out there and play the games, right? That's what they're paying you for. You're healthy enough to play. You want to play. You should go out there and play. Cool. I worked for an organization. I'll look at this from an organizational perspective. That's stupid. Because at 4-8, Aaron hasn't been good anyways. He's thrown more interceptions this year than he has probably in the last 3 years combined. It's not that he's without better football ahead of him, but this season is over. I know that there's 3% chance to make the postseason. This is over. And if you're an organization, you look at it like an investment. How can you in good conscience put this guy out there when you know for a fact that you're not good with him? You're 4-8. Everybody keeps telling me Rodgers gives you the better chance to win, Chad. And I'm like, really? Prove it. How would you know that a 50% Aaron Rodgers is that much better than 100% healthy Jordan Love? How do you know that the Packers wouldn't be better than 4-8? You don't, because he's playing terrible. But it's like we were waiting for Aaron making his decision, telling LaFleur, telling Gutekunst, telling the staff, this is what's happening.
Well, Morning Wood said sports is about winning. Rodgers gives the Packers the best chance to win.
Really? So they're 4-8. How do you prove that, though? How do you prove that Aaron Rodgers, unhealthy, broken thumb, punctured lung, whatever, how do you prove that he gives you a better chance to win than Jordan Love? Don't you have to actually start Jordan Love and find out?
Well, I mean, to me, the 3% chance thing is kind of ridiculous, because that means that you don't even have control of your own destiny. It's not just about you winning out. It's also about certain teams losing. It's basically a lottery.
Yes.
It's a lottery ticket. Yeah, there's a chance. And just like a lottery ticket, you're not going to win unless you play. I get it. But as we've been talking the last couple of days, that's a $100 million asset. That's a $100 million investment that you're risking for a 3% chance of possibly going to the playoffs and then having to bat. Let's say you make the playoffs. What are your chances in those playoffs? Then it becomes a whole different season. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. But this is, basically the way I've interpreted this over the last couple of weeks and what we're hearing in the press. It's Aaron Rodgers' team. He's running this thing, right? I mean, if Matt LaFleur can't tell you to sit and you can just go on to a show and say, no, I'm playing. I mean, who's running the team? Aaron Rodgers is running the team.
We've known this since Aaron showed up 2 off seasons ago, Chad, in his flip-flops. This was after the protracted holdout, and he had a list of grievances. He had a prepared list of grievances. He also had a prepared list of players that, would they have still played with Aaron Rodgers, they would have been so much better, because he was still there as the quarterback, the sire, the inevitable future Hall of Famer that he is, which, listen, you can't necessarily argue that that's wrong either, because it's a vacuum. And you and I've talked about this with other stuff. You can't disprove something in a vacuum until you have a piece of evidence that you can counter with. There is no way to say one way or the other that Jordy Nelson wouldn't have continued to be great if he would have played 2 more seasons with Aaron Rodgers, as opposed to taking a contract with the Raiders, I think it was. That's fine. But what we're at right now, and I see that Matty Ice is checking back in and saying, just sit Rodgers, and I don't think they're going to be just looking to sit Rodgers. That's why we're talking about it like this, Matty. And I realize that some Packer fans are fed up. Look, Rodgers is still a very good quarterback. But the argument that we're hearing, and Woody brought this up, that the Packers are a much better off team with Aaron Rodgers right now. I don't agree with that. And I don't agree with that only because the Packers fucking A guys are 4-8. Like, what are you talking about? Did you watch the same game that I did against Philadelphia? I realized the score was what it was, 33-40. But he got jumped on an interception. The first drive of the game, he gets a tip pass thrown for an interception. That wasn't necessarily his fault. But you can't tell me that Aaron Rodgers is that much better than Jordan Love right now. And if that is the case, then let's find out, because the Packers still have a big, big decision. Joe DeGuano has been right. This $20 million albatross that hangs over the Packers' neck next year with Jordan Love's fifth-year option, this needs to be addressed one way or the other. Rodgers has got a $40 million roster bonus in March that he's going to be paid. Like, Aaron's coming back to be the quarterback unless they trade him. But if you're going to do something with Jordan Love, you better find out right now. And I realize the 3% chance, and I get the whole Bears thing. And really, I truly understand this from a Packer fan perspective. I truly do. But put yourself outside of your, put yourself outside of your basement. Put yourself in the front office of 1265 and look at this from a 30,000-foot view and say, what's the best thing for next year? This season's over, right? This is over. What's the best thing for next season? And I can't get around the fact that sitting Rodgers now with a perfect opportunity to do so with all these built-in excuses, I just can't get around the fact that to me is the best idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think about this guy. I tell you what, to contrast a little bit, Tom Brady has his own podcast, and he went on his own podcast and pretty much said, hey, the responsibility lies on my shoulders. I go to bed every night thinking about these games. I'm the leader of this team. We are a losing football team right now. That's the situation we're in. We have to do better. But that starts with me. And I know guys like you and I like hearing that. Even if it's just, window dressing, even if he's just saying that. I don't think that's Tom Brady's makeup. And it looks like through his career, it's not who he is. He actually believes that. That's what we want to hear from a guy like Aaron Rodgers. And it's the complete opposite of that. He's very narcissistic. It's all about him. Everything goes through him. I appreciate his moxie. I appreciate his guts, right? The fact that he wants to go out there and win. And I think part of this has to do with they're playing the Bears. Okay. So he's seeing an opportunity. He owns the Bears. The Bears are not in good shape. If he goes out there, he can get a win. Then he's got a bye week. He's thinking, okay, I got to win. Then I get a week off. And then we've got 4 more games after that or whatever it is. I get the logic, but at the same time, as you said yesterday, this is why we have parents. This is why we have managers. This is why we have people in place to sometimes keep us from harming ourselves. And that's what I would, if you're thinking as a Packer fan, you got to think of the future. 3% is nothing. Okay. Next year, you've got 100% chance, like everybody does at the beginning of the season. If Aaron Rodgers gets injured critically to where he cannot play for the rest of his career because of a game that he wanted to play out of ego, and there was a 3% chance they would make the playoffs, then what's going to happen? Then what's the conversation going to be? Oh, I knew it. No, bullshit. You're the one that said he should have played. See how that works? You know what I mean? And I thought Jordan Love looked pretty good. Give the kid a chance, for Christ's sake.
Well, you're giving yourself a built-in opportunity, a built-in excuse right now. This is the out that everybody looks for, right? Like if you've been in a bad relationship, this is one of those perfect opportunities for everybody involved to say, wow, even if it's just for a game or two, right?
Yeah.
Like say it's the Chicago game and you've got the bye week. Maybe it's a
2 weeks off. Yeah.
Okay, great. Give me 2 weeks off, because I see that Jason P1 Preacher chopping in says, I think he's got mesothelioma as well. That's good, Breach. I like that. And good morning to you, big guy. Don't forget about tonight's party, Breacher, 6 to 10. Get your wife to sign your permission slip. Breacher's wife thought I unfriended her on Facebook the other day, and I was like, were Stacy and I even friends on Facebook? Stacy, I love you. I'm just going to tell you this. I love you. And thank you for hosting me at Thanksgiving. That was fantastic. But listen, back to the Rodgers deal. This is a built-in excuse, Chad. And a couple of things to unpack. What you mentioned about Rodgers versus Brady, this is what Matty Ice was referring to, I believe, in his message to us earlier, that some are really, this is worn on some fans because Aaron's got a different kind of personality than many folks here in the Midwest have, right? He really does. And you and I, maybe to a fault, have been at least amongst the people that I know personally, have been the first to say my fault, even if it wasn't, because you understand what that does to diffuse a situation, right? I've tried to use this analogy a lot. The mea culpa, out in many respects is so powerful. Just saying you're sorry, even if it's not your fault, gives other people a reason to not fucking get mad at you. Okay. Why is Zach Wilson benched right now? Because he wouldn't say sorry for such a poor game. Now, Zach Wilson doesn't have the 15 years as we've got one of our friends checking in saying AR is heroic and he's the GOAT. Exactly. I mean, he really is. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, when you look at his numbers, this dude's about as good as it's ever gotten in the National Football League. I'm not going to argue that even a little bit, but there is something about that personality that I think we as fans, especially we as sports fans, want to see Aaron portray. But that doesn't mean that he's going to do that, right? Like, that doesn't mean that he has to. I'm just looking at this, again, not from a fan's perspective, guys and gals, but specifically a business perspective. This is a $100 million investment that I want to protect. And we play to win the game. Okay, Herm, I get it. But there is more than, like, the game of football. If it teaches us anything, it's not about the battle. It's about the war, right? Every little battle, every yard that you try to gain from the line of scrimmage goes to a collective, an accumulation, which you hopefully win the war on. This is not a Super Bowl team, no matter what you do with it. And what you said, Chad, what if this guy gets critically injured during this end of the season? Because perhaps he is, even if the scans are clear, thinking about that rib, protecting it a little bit. Don't forget, this guy took himself out of the football game essentially on Sunday, tapped out, like, good. And I realize he's tough and he's got moxie, but if he was that concerned about it, that shows you that there is some injury concern.
Well,
Brett Favre got the same way at the end of his career too. He did not want those hits.
Unfortunately, when you're playing with an injury, you have a tendency to favor things, and your body angle and the way that you maneuver and stuff changes things, and you do things a little bit differently. And so the way you might have reacted one way if you were healthy in comparison, when you have now two injuries, it's not just one injury, right? We've got two significant injuries. You got his thumb and his ribs. That can put you in a situation that, and as you mentioned, Soldier Field is not the most player-friendly field to be on when it comes to hitting that frozen tundra, as they call it. I know that he dominates against the Bears, and I can kind of see it from that perspective. That's probably how he's seeing it, and he's seeing himself as being the tough guy, and his Willis Reed moment, if you will. I understand that. I respect that. And again, this is where who's running the team. If Matt LaFleur is really running the team and Gutekunst is running the team, they need to step in here and say, hey, Aaron, it's time for you to sit down. We're going to put Jordan Love in. You're going to take the next 2 weeks off, and we'll see where we're at. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, they didn't give a 39-year-old. By the way, Aaron's birthday is coming up, so we can all wish him a happy 39th birthday. They didn't give this 39-year-old dude the bag so they could make the decisions. Literally, Aaron Rodgers has got these guys by the balls, and we've known that. And listen, I'm not saying that there's not an element of fairness in this. I just looked at the Aaron Rodgers contract and the way that he was going to end his career a lot more like what the Lakers did with Kobe Bryant at the end of his career. Kobe Bryant's final contract, he got like $100,000 or some more dollars than LeBron James did for his contract at that time when LeBron was with Miami. It was not a lot, but it was just enough to make Kobe the most well-played player. The Lakers were atrocious. I mean, hell, the Lakers haven't been good really since Kobe tore his ACL in that very fateful game when they had Dwight Howard and Steve Nash still limping around on the court. The point that I was going to make is the Lakers understood what that was. Ticket sales. Kobe was a legend, and you were going to get to watch this guy play basketball, as diminished as he was, for at least the next couple of years. That was a business decision. They knew they weren't going to win. They knew that. Okay, cool. So if that's what we're saying here with the Packers, we just want Rodgers out there because you guys really just want to see Aaron Rodgers play football. Okay. But again, I'm looking at this more from the general manager's perspective, the business manager's perspective, and saying, yeah, fans want to see that, and that's great, but I got to account for next year. And we can't have this guy go and bust. I mean, David Bakhtiari, this should be a test case example for us, guys. As Packer fans, they give this dude a whole bunch of money. Boom. Wrecks his knee, and he's really not been on the field since. Okay, so that's a lot of dead money. You want to talk about dead cap money? That's a lot of dead cap money. Players not being available. And I know that Morning Wood says the coaches see Love in practice. I get it. And 2 years ago, Jordan Love wasn't who he was last week either. That's something that we have to remember too. Jordan Love on Sunday is not Jordan Love when he got drafted into the National Football League. That's also different. And if that wasn't different, then that means the entire Packers coaching staff should be fired. Because if you can't develop anybody better than they were when they first came in the league under no matter what you've tried, then you're not very good at your job. That's the other thing.
This Facebook user's nailing it right here. Aaron Rodgers brought it on himself during this offseason with fake retirement plan. He forced Adams to go to the Raiders. The season is done. Yeah, he's a good QB, but his attitude has become shit and has become super selfish. Wow. It was almost like I wrote that. That's awesome because that's exactly how I feel.
I was like, exactly that's your ghostwriter? Well, it's true.
It is true. And here's the other thing. And we are a little selfish, right? Because we've mentioned it already. Does anybody really want to watch Jordan Love and Trevor Siemian under center this weekend? No. I mean, not ideally. But again, let's play Madden for a second. When you're playing Madden, you go to franchise mode. What would you do? If you were in franchise mode, what would you do? You'd sit them.
Yes.
It's different when it's your cards on the table. That's the difference. It's easy to be armchair quarterback that's what we do. I just think logically, again, from a business standpoint, and sometimes you got to tell your kid he's got to sit down or he's going to hurt himself. And I think that's the situation here. And who knows with Aaron Rodgers and his passive aggressive manner, maybe that's what he's wanting them to do. Maybe he's waiting for them to go, okay, I'm going to see if they're going to step in here and do the right thing. I'm going to go out and tell the public, yeah, no, I want to play. I'm ready to play. I want to see are you going to be my parents here, or are you going to let me just run wild and do whatever I want?
Well, so listen, friend of mine, Reggie Reg from Las Vegas, checking in with us here on Facebook. He says that was me, Dave. It was Reggie Reg, and he said it's time for Mark Murphy to step in and sit Brian Gutekunst, who is the general manager. And Brian Gutekunst is a guy that here in the cross chat gets a real long runway because he is a UWL grad. Okay, this guy is the pride of the area in many respects. But listen, the structure of the Green Bay Packers, Reg, and this is something that Joe DeGuano, our Green and Gold insider, and I, Chad, have talked about for years. The structure of the Green Bay Packers is so unique. It will never be replicated in the history of the world. There will never be a municipality to own a professional sports franchise like an NFL team, an NBA team. That will never happen again. There's too much money in it. But there are a lot of hindrances with having the structure as it is. And we talked about this yesterday. If this was a Jerry Jones, if this was a Shad Khan, the owner of the Jaguars, and Trevor Lawrence was going through this, if this was one of the Mara family members that owns the New York Giants, and you had Eli Manning with a big injury, I mean, you would have an owner step in. I mean, I recall Eli Manning getting benched one game, breaking his start streak. John Mara, the owner's son, came down and was like, dude, you're changing this now. I mean, he told the coach, you're putting him back out there. Fuck Geno Smith or whoever it was. You're putting this guy back out there now. And I think that without that central ownership, there is a lack of institutional control to a degree, but only because Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. If this was any other player, this wouldn't be a problem, right? Like if this was anybody else right now, I don't think the Packers would have an issue. But because of the stature and the magnitude, as one of our audience members said, Aaron being so terrific and the GOAT, that makes it really difficult for Green Bay. And Rodgers has painted him into a corner. He really has. The narrative, though, that we were sold last year by desperate Packer fans that Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers were getting back together was this. These two guys, Chad, up at night, they're DMing each other. We know this. There's a barber that told me this is happening. They're just DMing each other. They're working out their contract. And listen, the Culligan guy, he told me that this is going to be a thing. And they were just sitting up late at night watching Stranger Things on Netflix and, hanging out and just waiting to get back together. These fucking men never talked to each other once, not one time. And Davante went and took a contract that he thought was better for him. By the way, the weather's better. The state taxes are better. There's a lot of reasons for Davante Adams to go play for the Raiders.
Oh, by the way, it's Vegas.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
So there's that.
Which Green Bay is a fun town. I mean, don't get me wrong, but
the good thing about Green Bay is there's water. So there's that.
Yes, there is. Lots of water. But your fine dining options include the stadium view and Applebee's, right? Like, I mean, it's just what it is. No offense to Brad and Green Bay. I love Green Bay. It's a huge, huge, huge Packer place. But it's just, there were reasons that didn't happen. And when we pack this into a little box and say, why are the Packers in this particular situation? It's because of Rodgers. He put them here. He really did. If he would have been a better overall teammate, let's just call it what it is, the Packers wouldn't be in this situation. They just wouldn't.
No, you're right. And again, he's done a lot for the team, and obviously it's easy to sit here and play armchair quarterback and pick on him and whatever. But I do think this is a situation. And again, I just think his passive aggressive nature, I almost kind of think he's doing this on purpose. He's just showing everybody, because that's just how he is, he's just showing everybody who's the boss. And maybe he actually wants somebody to step in because he doesn't want to be the guy to go, yeah, I need to sit. You know what I mean? That's the other thing. Like when you're in this situation, when you're injured and you really shouldn't play, you really don't necessarily want to play, but you don't want to let everybody know that. You do need somebody to come in and go, hey, just do this for me. Come in and just say, hey, you got to sit down, and then I'll pretend like I'm pissed off, but I'll just storm off and everything will be cool. And then I get to keep I get to keep face and everything. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's not that complex, and I'm probably reading into it, but he has that kind of mind. He is one of those kinds of guys. He does like to manipulate the situation.
See, and I don't think you're really wrong at all. The problem that I was having with the whole statement that you're making is how right that feels, and just what weak sauce that is, right? That's weak sauce.
It is, but it's on the money, though.
Yeah. Speaking of on the money, I nearly made a play yesterday in college basketball that was going to be on the money, one that was going to bounce me off track. I didn't make any wagers yesterday, and I'm super glad that I didn't. But when we come back, Chad, I want to change gears just a little bit. We're talking a lot of Aaron Rodgers. I want to talk a little USA Men's National, and I want to talk some Wisconsin Badgers basketball, because yesterday we had the Badgers lose a nail biter to Wake Forest, and USA Men eking out a win over Iran. I don't want to get any hate mail from these guys. Iran. Stay tuned. This is the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. I'm Davies Chad.
The official mortgage team of the Sports Carnival is the Midwest mortgage team of Land Home Financial, my good buddies Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi. Listen, we all know the mortgage industry is in a bit of an upheaval right now, and that's why it's more important than ever to go to a couple of guys that you can trust, a local operation right here in La Crosse. That is the Midwest mortgage team. Again, Michael Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi of Land Home Financial. Don't make a mistake with your mortgage needs. Go to the official mortgage provider of the Sports Carnival, the Midwest mortgage team, Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi.
Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home, or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home, or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
Back to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Did you know 26.8% of all statistics are made up on the spot? It's true. Now here's your host, Dave Carney.
Well, I've always said there's lies, damn lies in statistics, and that's one of the best ways to throw somebody off their game. You start giving them all these stats and facts, and pretty soon they're like, wait, what? That's also one of the reasons why baseball sort of shit the bed a couple of years back. Statistics, analysis, paralysis by analysis. You remember when the Tampa Bay Rays lost to the Dodgers because their manager looked at the analytics play sheet and said, oh, we got to pull a pitcher. It's been 75 pitches. Let's put this guy in, and whoops, that doesn't work out well.
No, stats don't always tell the truth.
Not always. Sometimes they do. Jeff Schneider Tax and Accounting, he will beg to differ when it comes to your accounting. That actually is where stats come in to play really, really importantly. And it was actually Jeff Schneider that commented, Chad, about Mark Murphy needing to step in and sit Brian Gutekunst. So I'd said that was Reggie Reg. That one was not Reggie Reg. That was Jeff Schneider, excuse me. So Jeff, that's one of those things that, Joe DeGuano has talked about recently here. The fact that Brian Gutekunst as a general manager needs to probably have a really, really great offseason, because this Jordan Love contract that's coming up is going to look really bad if Green Bay decides to pick up this fifth-year option. If they trade him, what do they get back? How is this going to look for Gutekunst on a career resume? I don't know, but there definitely seems to be like there are a few more I don't exactly know which term I'm supposed to use now, because I wanted to say too many, somebody and not enough Chiefs, but I don't know if that's correct anymore. There's just too many workers doing all the jobs of manager here at the Green Bay Packers. Okay. That's the way it feels like to me. We've got too many players calling too many shots, and I'm all for player empowerment. I get this, but sometimes you need to save guys from themselves, especially in a combat blood sport like professional football.
Yeah. Too many,
do you know what I mean? I don't know.
So you know what? Isn't it funny how things get ingrained in you that may have probably historically wrong, but you've been saying them a certain way, and then you've got to reframe them, and you're on the spot, and you can't do it without getting canceled. But that's what we love about our Constitution and freedom of. Oh no, never mind. I guess we don't have that.
Now the late United States. That's something my dad used to say too. Rob Dog in Stoddard's reaching out this morning saying every great team has its downfall. It seems Rodgers is the downfall of Green Bay. He's a part of it, Rob Dog. He's a part of it, but it's hard to say downfall because he's been so good. He really has. Rodgers outside of this year has just been so good. It's hard to say downfall with Aaron Rodgers in the same breath, but I think that the personality influence, and this is something that, it's not statistically measurable. This is another place where stats don't tell the full story. You can't statistically measure the impact of emotion on a team. And again, I'll just go to this reference because it's so recent. The Jets and Zach Wilson, that emotional impact on the team was so negative that they go to third string quarterback, 5th round draft pick, Mike White, and take the 2nd overall draft pick from 2 years ago that was 5-2 as a starter, Chad, and they make him inactive because that's how important. Fuck stats. Like, you can look at the record and say 5-2. That's good. It's a good record. Yeah, I get it. But not always does that record tell the story. And so to Rob Dog's point, I think there is part of that. And look at this. UWL's Thomas, who also has squirrel updates, says that according to ESPN's Chris Canty, Aaron Rodgers wants to play because he doesn't want to give Jordan Love a chance to impress. Well, that again would be really weak sauce, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that feel like really weak sauce, guys and gals? That to me would be the mark of somebody who is insecure. Oh, yeah. Wait, we saw that with Brett Favre. No kidding. These guys don't want to give the backup quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is looking at this thing and saying, good fucking Christ, this is the exact scenario that happened to me. And Rodgers was the 24th pick. Jordan Love was the 26th pick. Rodgers sat for 3 years. Jordan Love sitting for 3 years. And oh my God, are we really here again? And you know what? That maybe Chris Canty's onto something there. I don't know if we trust ESPN's report 100%, but maybe he's onto something here.
Well, we're getting some help here. Too many fingers in the pie.
Word
is a good way to go. And too many cooks in the kitchen.
There we go. See, we've got the Epicurean lovers here on the program giving us these different very salivating ways to say. I suppose
you could have said too many Kansas City Chiefs and not enough Cleveland. What's their new name now?
They're still the Browns. Oh, you're talking about the Cleveland Guardians?
Guardians.
There you go.
Yes.
Kansas City Chiefs and not enough
Guardians. There's not enough Guardians. That's it. We just nailed it right there.
That's perfect. I think we've then solved our way out of getting.
I know. I crossed sports there, but I think it was necessary.
Yeah, I don't care. You could have also gone with. Well, no, I think we'll just stick with that one. All right, I'm not going to give Dan Snyder any more credit than he deserves. Let's see. Let's bring up another one of our. Oh, look, this is Reggie. Reg checking back in, says, thanks, you guys are doing an awesome job.
Dave After Dark. I forgot about that.
Man, we've talked about Dave After Dark a couple of times out here in the Cooley region, and folks were curious to see what a picture of Dave After Dark looked like. In my previous place of employment, they actually printed off one of those pictures and had it hanging in the sales office.
Okay, so Jeremy Foreman was on the same page I was. Too many guys, not enough commanders. I believe it's the politically correct way to say nowadays, Dave. Yes, good job, Jeremy Foreman. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Boy, and Jeremy, he could go blue on us.
Sitting there.
Yeah, the nut bush is looking around like we've got this pancake with 2 eye holes in it. There's some sausage and bacon that's starting to grow wings now. It's real funny too because Jason P1 Breacher, we were sitting there looking at the food and just wondering at what point does salmonella actually just like infest the whole plate? Like at what hour does that become a thing? Because there's only so many minutes you can give a good poached egg before it decides to go really, really wrong, right?
It's a safety concern. That's why food quality control is important.
Yeah,
And
it
I'm
is.
usually on that. So I have a timer. If somebody's food's sitting, I'll take care of it. No problem. Unless it's a salad, then that's your job, Dave.
That's
but if
my
it was
job.
pancakes and bacon, it wouldn't have been sitting there long if I was sitting there. I'll tell you that right now.
You know, Chad, there was a time in my life, and I think you remember this. We were doing a show in Vegas, and I was trying to gain a ton of weight, right? So I was hitting the food real hard, and we went to McMullen's, which was across from the Orleans Arena, and we had the biggest salad in the entire world. They had a salad that came out like in a half a trough, and it had steak, so there was 1/4 cow plus a half a trough worth of salad, and I destroyed that thing. I destroyed it.
That was the kind of salad I like, when you can barely see anything green.
Yes. It was a great moment in Dave eating, which I can't compete with now. Like, I cannot eat to the same competitive level now that I could then. That's one thing where I've gone in the opposite direction.
That's a good thing. Well, I think everybody does as you get older.
Yeah.
You can't pound the food or the beer as much as you used to.
Well,
You can try.
Maybe that's where I've made up for it, right? I can't pound the food as much now, but I can hit the booze harder. This is a living in Wisconsin thing. It really, truly is. Chad, let's throw up that screen with the USA men's national team, because I want to give our audience members another chance to climb our poll this morning. And thank you, Woody. Babes love Dave After Dark, don't they? The poll question on our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney, our Facebook group page, has this for you. After Team USA beat Iran yesterday 1-0, they've advanced now to the knockout round. What do you think of their chances? Are they going to be able to advance in the knockout round, Chad? It was split right down the middle earlier on Twitter anyways, 50-50. Now it looks like 58.3% to 41.7% of respondents are saying no, they're not going to be able to advance. And I'm checking out our Facebook group page right now, and it looks like we are at 63-37, at least from my initial count here, saying yes, Team USA can advance in the knockout round. I know that you're not a soccer fan, and to be fair, I'm not either. I've watched soccer a couple of times in my life. I've watched a couple of World Cups intently. Mostly that's been because of the people that I've been around being super huge soccer fans. But this Team USA seemingly has captured a lot of imagination and a lot of attention here. So I wanted to make sure we gave it a little bit of service today. This was a big win, apparently, for this team, because Team USA, Chad, is the youngest team I found out in all of the World Cup right now. So there is something to be said about a young Team USA, doing really pretty well. 2 draws. They draw against England. They drew against Wales to start, and then beating Iran 1-0. I don't know. I don't know enough about soccer to really have an opinion. My thoughts are just no, because I think they play Netherlands next, and Netherlands is a perennial world power. But who knows? This team, maybe they've got something, and that would cool.
They're obviously on a roll. They've played 3 games and they've scored 2 goals. They're on a bit of a hot streak, scoring 1 goal in the last 2 games. So, it's for me, it's just too fast paced. I have a hard time keeping up with all the scoring. I just can't handle it. It kind of reminds me of arena football. It's just too much action. But, it is a good story. Kind of reminds you a little bit of, the 1980 hockey team, I guess, at the beginnings of it. Are we seeing something like that? I know that's what everybody's thinking.
Yeah.
And of course, that's imprinted on us, all of us. Do you believe in miracles? And so that's what we're thinking, that at 3:00 in the morning, at some point when this game is on, we have to wake up and watch. They're playing somebody, then I guess we'll do that. But I don't know enough about the team or soccer or do I care? But of course, if it's a USA team, and especially if they're playing somebody like Iran, you're gonna root for them. So I'm rooting for them.
Yeah.
But I'm rooting for them purely just not actively. I'm not actively rooting for them. In other words, I'm not watching and participating.
It's like a sense of national pride that you're just happy to see the team. Okay.
Yes.
That's
I'm
fair.
sending them good vibes. Like if they were
fair.
my Facebook friend, I would say I'm sending you good vibes.
Okay, that's fair. I think that is a fair way to look at it, much the way that I look at basically every Olympic competition except for basketball and boxing, which I'll actually watch. Morning Wood says he watches soccer for the amazing flops. He wonders if Westbrook and the NBA floppers got their skills from soccer. As a matter of fact, yes, that's where a lot of them, and we have to give credit where credit's due.
Vice versa.
Absolutely. You can look at this and say, conversely, the football players or soccer players around the world get a lot from the NBA. Vlade Divac was, I believe, the first NBA
Master.
player to perfect the 7'2" flop. You're 7 foot, 250 pounds, and yet somehow Sedell Threatt coming down the lane as a member of the Seattle Supersonics at the time would be able to nudge you over with his index finger. That was impressive because Sedell Threatt, good basketball player, but definitely not somebody that should have knocked Vlade Divac over. All right, well, Chad, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We'll say hi to some of our friends. Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, my realtor, and should be yours if you're buying or selling. Preferred Insurance, you have autos, you've got a home, you've got a business, you've got flood insurance. Call our friends Tony and Brian over at Preferred Insurance and our Midwest mortgage team, guys. Number one in the company, Todd Vercruzzi and Mike Garcia. Of course, Sean O'Neill, the O'Neill Law Firm, Joe's Helping Hand Landscaping, and well, we'll give you the code coming up tomorrow, I hope. BetUS. Welcome aboard. Stick around, guys. Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices.
Hey, it's time for koozies, hot tub, and jacuzzis in downtown La Crosse. Whether you're looking to relax after a hard day's work, or maybe you're up for a little soak and poke, we got you covered. That's right, when you're in the market for a hot tub or jacuzzi, all you have to do is call the Coos. 555-SOAK. That's 555-7625. Soak and poke is a slang term for hot tub sex. Please practice responsibly.
Back to the action live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the Sports Carnival. Speaking of sex, sex is like air. It's not important unless you aren't getting any. Now here's your host, Dave Carney.
Oh, Chad, who you telling? Who you telling? Eric, our good buddy from Turtle Stack Brewery, checking in this morning. EJ, what's shaking, baby? Well, EJ lets us know what's shaking. He says, once you're in the knockout rounds, guys, anything is possible. The ball bounces in odd ways. And the Netherlands, he says, isn't a bad matchup for the USA on paper. I've just seen what the Vegas odds makers and worldwide odds makers have said about this game, and I believe the USA is plus 330 or plus 340. And what that tells me is that the odds on paper are not great for the United States, or else that would be a little bit closer. But EJ, again, full disclosure, I don't know anything about this team. I really don't. I have no idea about the Netherlands. I just know historically, Netherlands have been a powerhouse, not just in FIFA World Cup play, but in international competition. So I'll take your word for it on this one, EJ. I'll take your word for it. One other question, EJ, are you guys going to have at Turtle Stack the televisions tuned on to the World Cup? Because, Chad, you mentioned them playing this thing at 3 o'clock in the morning here. No, because they're playing this thing in Qatar, okay, where they have now officially confirmed that 400 to 500 people died during the making of these stadiums and the railways, as opposed to the 40 that they floated out there for many years using a form of slave labor called kafala. But that's, again, a different story for a different day. Because they're playing in Qatar, they couldn't play the World Cup in the summer because, well, it's 190,000 degrees in Qatar in the summer. And they can't even really play it in the daytime in the winter. So they have to play these games at 10 o'clock at night over there so that nobody dies on the field. That's why we get to watch a USA men's team play at whatever it was, 1 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday or 11 o'clock or something. It was 11 o'clock in the morning Central Time. So you kind of wonder, what that's all about. And Eric, he's correcting me. No TVs. That's a good point. I thought there was. That was just your chalkboard I'm thinking about now. Right.
Well, obviously, we know what you were doing up there.
Well,
if you're in the tap room, you see all kinds of different things after a while doing that.
Well, one of the things we would do at the tap room, and you're right, I never really looked around for TVs. I was assuming, EJ, and that's a bad assumption that makes an ass of you and me. That's a saying that we can still hold on to. One of my favorite things to do at the Turtle Stack Brewery was adult story time for adults that the La Crosse Public Library puts on. Chad, can you believe they let somebody like me get up without actually reviewing the material that I was going to present to this group of adults?
What did you present?
I presented, well, let's start off with this line. We were just outside of Barstow when the drugs really began to kick in. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, at least the first stanza and a half from, maybe 10 pages from Hunter S. Thompson's incredible essay. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, as portrayed so perfectly by, one of the most failing actors of our time in Johnny Depp. But needless to say, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas got a lot of drug innuendos. I don't know if many people in that particular room at the time knew what the depths of an ether binge could really do to somebody, or even that ether was something that recreationally people did outside of P12 Foreman.
Yeah. Foreman says not a good draw at all. Netherlands are a top 5 team in this year's World Cup.
There you go, EJ. I don't know which one of you guys to believe.
I don't know either. What'd you say the spread was? 0 goals? Is that what you said? How do you even handicap one of these games? You're like, what's the over under? Half a goal. Is that what it is?
That could possibly be a thing. I started wondering about this the other day. I really did. I started wondering because, the World Cup, like with hockey, you get points allocated, even if you tie or lose. Well, not if you lose, but if you tie a game, you get points allocated. I wondered if there could be a World Cup in which you saw every team tie all the way to the end. Is there like a scenario that could exist in which every team ties? Like, I kind of just wondered like how that would work. Like, what if every game went to a draw? Like all the games were 0-0, 1-1, 2-2. Like what then?
What do you mean performance points? What does that mean? So like, the style of how you kick the ball? Like,
no, not performance points. I said you get points if you draw. Like in hockey, you get points for a tie. I didn't say
like you guys. They had the best, soccer shoes on, so we'll give them a half a point.
Well, this is when you see who lays the best morning wood, right? That's the performance points that you give to these guys. Like, wow, that Christian Pulisic, man, he lays a mean morning wood. Performance point. And then put that up there. I
nailed it. According to Foreman, yep, normally exactly what it is. It's a half. It's a half a goal.
A point it's a half a goal. Okay. That's riveting.
Hey, well, I mean, honestly, here's the thing. If you want to make anything interesting in sports, you got to do some wagering, Dave. And this is why we've got BetUS. Is this right? Not correct? I mean, because really, you got prop bets. You could do like how many yellow cards you think there's gonna be.
Probably. Yes.
There's all kinds of red card. There's so many different angles. This is what I love about this BetUS is it's not just straight up betting. It's all of the Super Bowl betting that everybody gets juiced up about, and really Vegas loves because it brings in a bunch of
casual
bettors. No idea what they're doing, but it sounds attractive to put $500 on who's going to score the first touchdown. But every game is like that. In-game betting. There's so many different angles to make a really shitty game interesting.
Well, that is, Chad, probably the most salient way that we could transition here. And if you could throw up that little Wednesday piece we've got for our audience members. If you're watching us live here, if you're listening to us on Podbean or you're catching the podcast later, we'll do our best to describe it here. But we've got a little Wednesday slide coming up because, we're getting official with BetUS. And BetUS is a name that you might be familiar with. You might have heard me talking about BetUS in the past. We're getting official with BetUS. You're going to have to wait until probably tomorrow. We hope to have our actual Sports Carnival code ready for you guys and gals tomorrow. But we're going to start encouraging you to make your wagers through BetUS. It's a fully legal way, Chad, to bet in the United States. This is 100% legal to do. There is absolutely no way that you're going to get in trouble. And BetUS has been around for over 25 years, Chad. They were the first in the industry space of now doing online offshore betting that really existed. And one of the reasons that they've been around for so long is because of the reputation. When you put your money in play with BetUS, you can be guaranteed for fast payouts. There are so many incredible offers that we're going to have for our audience members, but we'll talk about that more tomorrow. You're right, though. Betting on games is one of the only ways to make something that you're completely non-interested in very, very much interesting when you know that you've got your son's entire future riding on a single game. You know that this is going to be an interesting way to watch a soccer match, okay?
Well, the late, great Norm Macdonald said, you're really not gambling unless you risk everything.
That's right.
And not that we're encouraging that.
No.
I think he lost everything at least twice or three times, I think, in his life. He had a bit of a gambling issue, but he risked it all a couple of times. And when you think about it, that is the definition of gambling is when you're Gambling everything you have.
Well, that's why they say going for broke. You're going for broke. You're either all in or you're all out. So for those that are watching us, you see what we've got on the screen. For those that are listening, we've just got a little promotion that we want to make sure that you're reminded about. So tonight, the Bucks ticket giveaway from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Recovery Room is something that you're going to just want to be at. We are going to have one of these P1 parties that you've all become real fans of. The Recovery Room is our host destination, as you know. That's why we broadcast live from the Trauma Center studios. And Chad, we've got Milwaukee Bucks basketball on tonight from 6:30 until whenever they get done playing the Knicks. We'll have the Bucks game on. You got to be here tonight. It's going to be so much fun. We're giving away the Bucks tickets. We've got cash. We've got other swag and prizes. Again, thank you to our friends at Absolute Vodka and Jameson Irish Whiskey. The tickets are going to be for the 7th of December. So that's coming up pretty soon. That's a week from tomorrow. And you're going to get a chance to see Milwaukee take on the Sacramento Kings. Last night, Chad, just to recap briefly here for Wisconsin Badger basketball fans, Badgers, boy, they had a tough game against Wake Forest. The Badgers were a team that I talked about making a play on yesterday, but I wasn't sure about the spread. The Badgers were 5.5-point favorites. I also talked about making a parlay of Wisconsin basketball with Marquette basketball. Marquette was actually dogs. They were dogs, against Baylor. I think they were getting 6.5 points. Marquette beat the stuffing out of Baylor last night, like 96-70 or some ridiculous number. So I would have probably been better off taking 2 straight plays. As it turns out, I didn't make any. But this game for Wisconsin, wow, was this exciting. It went down to the buzzer. And listen, Wisconsin had a shot to win. If you were watching this, and I know Morning Wood was last night, if you were watching this game, man, you really were hoping that Tyler Wall would have took, the layup that he had right at the basket was just such a bunny that he would have took it up just a little bit harder. So Wisconsin's leading scorer last night, Tyler Wall, Chad, had a golden opportunity, and it looked like he got a little bit nervous when he was going up for the layup, kind of bricks it off, and for what that's worth, it gave Wake Forest the opportunity to put the game away. They did. Chucky Hepburn, though, Wisconsin point guard, who started off the season shooting just nothing but bricks, really picked it up in the last couple of games against Kansas and USC. He made SportsCenter's top 10 this morning because he hit a shot from the logo about 40-some feet to end the first half. Wisconsin was getting beat by 6 points. Hepburn sent him into the half, on a bit of a hot streak, and Wisconsin battled in the second half. It was a really good game to watch. It was a fun watch, but Wisconsin does fall just a little bit short. We're going to see a lot of games like this for Wisconsin this year. We're going to see a lot of games that are really close. Wisconsin's talent in some respects isn't as deep this year, especially without Johnny Davis. Jordan Davis is playing good. Wisconsin's talent isn't as deep, but they're so well coached and they play so smart and so hard, Chad. They're going to be in pretty much all of these games, right? They're going to be in most all of these games.
I have not got into college basketball as of yet. I'm still trying to digest what's going on in college football. I'm looking forward to this weekend's championship weekend, so that's going to be great. And I think we're going to be catching up with John Denton tomorrow, talk a little bit about college football and, of course, the NFL weekend ahead on where to place your money. So it should be a great weekend for betting as far as that goes. But right now, initially, when I'm looking, at Vegas Insider and when I'm looking at the spreads, I'm looking at a lot of teasers to make things comfortable for me to put money on.
Yeah, I've been a teasing.
A lot of these lines are real tight.
I've been a teasing fool for a while because of that very same feeling that you've got, Chad, comfortability, right? And I know that the payouts aren't as good on teasers. No. But you still have to listen. It's still not just some free play, right? You've got to be able to analyze these games, find where there's value. That's going to be a fun conversation for us tomorrow with John Denton, because I've got a lot of thoughts on action coming up this weekend in the National Football League. We also didn't get to it this morning. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning. The College Football Playoff Committee released their most recent college football playoff rankings. USC with Cliff Kingsbury is in the top 4. And I thought about this with the Luke Fickell hire for Wisconsin fans. You take a team like USC, who hadn't been sniffing a postseason berth for the last, I don't know how long. When did Pete Carroll leave to go to Seattle? That
been like
long.
15 years ago, yeah.
Been like 15 years, but you take this guy, you bring him into your program. And I said this when they hired him, when they hired Lincoln Riley. USC was going to be a team to watch out for in the near term, not the long term. The near term. This made me think of Wisconsin, though, guys and gals, and how cool it could be to see a whole new brand of football come with Luke Fickell. And Terry says, how about my Boilermakers? They even surprised me. There you go, big guy. Hey, don't forget, Recovery Room tonight, 6 to 10 p.m. I'll pester you all day on social media. I want to see you there for the Bucks ticket giveaway. We have double entries, free pizza, cash, and prizes, and, of course, your favorite P1s. Chad, have a great day. I'll talk to you in the morning, man.
All right. See you guys tomorrow. Enjoy.